folks, and welcome to this week's show. And judging by our very strange, different backdrops, I'm no doubt you're struggling to figure out what we're doing, but we're actually going to be doing King Crimson. We're trying to figure out what Jonesy's got down at the bottom, but I'm sure that'll all be revealed as we go along. Um, so, we're going to review the 13 albums by King Crimson, and we're going to be focusing on the main seven, or what we consider our main seven, and I'm sure they'll all be very different. And so what we'll do, we'll go 13, 12, 11, and then we'll do 10, 9, 8. So Jones, you'll do three, then Jeremy, then myself, and then we'll get down to the big seven eventually. Okay. So before we start any of that, Jonesy, how did you sort of get into King Crimson and when?
Just at school, we had there was a little kind of coterie of us, and the albums would always be passed around. So somebody have like five albums that they carry down the school corridor, and they'd listen to them, and then they'd pass them on to somebody else, and then you'd take them home, and then so they were like just these albums are just constantly doing the rounds, So it's just a bit of everything. Um, and then I caught obviously in the Court of the Crimson King first album, the cover, which probably hooks anybody in first, can be the cover. It's such an iconic cover. And I thought, okay, what's this? Blah, 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 blah. I took it home, played it, and thinking, well, this is different to like T-Rex, and David Cassidy, who I was probably listening to at the time, and obviously, and other hip stuff as well. But so I thought, wow, this is amazing. This is great. Kind of just coming at me completely left field, something a bit more classical, something that requires a little bit of attention. Not a 3-minute pop single. And obviously, like, exploring new little avenues. So that kind of got me hooked. And then I had a mate at school who was pretty hip, and he was well into them before anybody else. And then he would then pass on to me other stuff. And then just kind of slow. It was like a slow, like, love affair with something that was slightly different to Bowie and, the Stooges and T-Rex and whatever else I was listening to at the time. And it was one of those weird things where you think of the big prog bands like Genesis, ELP, Floyd. When punk came along, everybody was kind of getting rid of their Floyd albums, and trying to like taking their jeans in so they all did skinny. But I didn't really get rid of my crew. I took my Yes albums away and thought, well, I'll play them in about 20 years' time when it's safe to come out of the woodwork. But with Crimson, I didn't really do that. They just stayed on the turntable. So they've kind of always been with me. I love the band. I love Robert Fripp as an iconic figure. I think he's just I've just been reading his Wikipedia entry, and it's ridiculous. I think Crimson takes up something like 1% of his time.
Yeah.
But he's what an incredible man. What a career to look back on. Just phenomenal. This just I wouldn't even know where to begin to sort of describe the things he does. So um as a central figure, I think Crimson is essentially Robert Fripp. Let's face it.
Yep.
I think, and Fripp once said himself that Crimson's more of an idea. So anybody could be King Crimson, really. He's probably got some say in it, but essentially he is Crimson. I mean, once again, bands who have like 8,000 members are sort of, I'm less interested in them than bands who sort of stay together. But it's quite hard to find a band who's, 50 years down the line, they've still got the same lineup, But I guess Fripp is Crimson, really. So
Yeah,
and by that token, I find him a fairly interesting guy on many levels, not just musically.
good stuff. Okay, Jeremy, how about yourself?
I'm fairly certain this one came through my brother, 6 years older than me, and he listened to a lot of jazz and funk and fusion and things like that. So I probably found the record in his room, and just that cover drew me in. But I must have liked it enough because I bought my own copy. So I always loved that album. And somewhere along the way, I found a used copy of Starless and Bible Black, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's different, feels more 70s. And I was fascinated by the fact that Fripp was the guy on the Bowie records, so it's all coming together. And then all of a sudden, King Crimson comes back and they put out Discipline. And a lot of kids in my school were into Discipline, thought it was the album, not the practice. They thought it was a great album, and I listened to it quite a bit. I think I taped it from a friend, And then when Beat came out, I actually bought that as soon as it came out because I was quite a fan of both of those records at the time. And you'll see behind me the ticket for the one time I saw King Crimson, which was on the Beat tour, 1982, on the pier. So that's on the water, an outdoor concert. I was actually living in the Berkshires that summer, but took a bus home to New York City to see King Crimson. So I was pretty heavily into them at the time. And I have to say that the live experience was quite something. I mean, to see Fripp live, I think that's the only time I've seen him live. And Bruford, Tony Levin, Adrian Belew, just it was a great, great concert. But gradually from that time on, the records, I lost focus on them, and maybe the records lost focus. We'll talk about that. But I haven't really, until this project, there were a ton of Crimson albums I hadn't listened to. It's a little like Pink Floyd that way when we did the Pink Floyd show,
Yeah.
where there were big gaps that I had to investigate further. And I don't know if that's just because the used record bins didn't have like the albums between Court of the Crimson King and Starless, or if I had heard bad things about them, I'm not really sure. But after Beat, I never bought another King Crimson album and didn't really listen to any of their new stuff until now. So it was an interesting journey.
Excellent. Well, mine is through Roxy Music. Through the No Pussyfootin' album, which he did, Fripp did with Brian Eno, which I absolutely loved, may I add. All variations of it, the super half speed and all the rest of it, I love it. And because Eno was on it, and I saw Fripp, and I thought, oh right, okay, right, I love the guitar tone, and then I sort of went through Fripp that way. And also for a while, I was into Soft Machine as well, so there was another
Really?
slightly different. Yeah, you see, slightly different way of sort of trying getting into them. But yeah, it was through that, and then I listened to the first album and various other things. However, I didn't, and I haven't listened to a number of albums in years. So for me, it's almost been like sort of catch up because I haven't listened to five, six of these albums for 25, 30 years. So it's been a while since I've heard some of these and going back into them again. And there's maybe a reason why when I go through the grades in a moment. But there we have it, folks. So so as you can see on this on the screen, folks, five I've got is a masterpiece. Four is 4.5 stars is a classic. Four is excellent. 3.5 is very good. Three is a good album. 2.5 is fair. Two is weak. 1.5 is very poor. One's awful. 0.5 is don't bother. And zero, we're into the Doors post Jim Morrison territory. So I'm doubting we're going to hit any of those. But right, so Jonesy, do you want to tell us your 13, 12, and 11 and just some reasons why?
Some reasons why. So I had Thrack, Lizard, and Construction of Light at 13, 12, and 11. Um, kind of, I'm not a biggest fan of prog metal, basically because I've heard it all before with the early King Crimson stuff. There's some good stuff on there. There's some terrible stuff on there. Basically, I thought Walking on Air sounded like Jealous Guy by John Lennon. I think once again you mentioned Lennon earlier on. Not a great fan of it. It was all right. I think I've written down bland people one time, pretty bland. There's a fairly unnecessary drum solo on there. Room just sounds like Red. I think they're just trying to recapture some little old glories as well. So I think they top and tail it with something heavy. Basically a Red kind of start opening track and a Red fade out track. So I don't dislike it. It's Robert Fripp, so there's nothing to dislike, but it doesn't really do an awful lot for me when there's a lot of other bands that work in similar territory, like I guess Tool, I probably haven't heard any Tool, but the name keeps cropping up all the time. And so I think maybe I need to check them out at some point, but there's so many other great bands working in a similar territory. Here's one for you. There's a fantastic Swiss band called Sonar who put out an album called Black Light, and it's just so Crimson. And that's the direction I think they could have went in.
How many stars for Thrack there?
How many stars? I will give it a 2 stars. But
So what have you got in the 12 then?
At 12, I had Lizard. Is that right? Third album. Basically, Fripp said this was unlistenable. It does noodle. It doesn't really go anywhere, you know. I think it sounds like incidental music to a sort of early movie about some crumbling circus or whatever. There's some kind of thematic thing going on, some concept about a circus or whatever. I just didn't really pay much attention to it. It didn't grab me in any way whatsoever. The only redeeming feature is John Anderson on Prince Rupert Awaits. I love John Anderson's voice. I think it's beautiful.
Mm.
I mean, I love that track. I think that track's excellent. And Lady of the Dancing Water is got a nice vibe to it. I kind of got into that, but you know, it's a bit of a hodgepodge. It just like does absolutely nothing for me whatsoever. And I hate to say that about a band that I love. So
So how many
um, I'm
stars?
going to give it. I'm going to give it 2.5. It's slightly going up there.
And and then your number 11.
Number 11, I had Construction of Light from 2000, their 12th album. Once again, working in a very similar vein. Wasn't an awful lot on it. I thought Heaven and Earth was nice. Prozac Blues reminds me of the Cramps. The title track's beautiful. I really love the title track. I just get the impression that they're retreading old glories as well. So anybody coming at this from a non-Crimson lineage, not the earliest stuff, because I've kind of followed them from the very beginning, you know.
Mhm.
Anybody coming at this who'd never heard any of the early stuff could be forgiven for thinking, wow, this is really new and exciting, you know. Like there's a whole lot of millennials who went into prog metal, and there's an awful lot of it about, would think this is brilliant, but hopefully they think this is brilliant. Let's dig into this band and work our way back and find out where it all come from, you know. They may arrive at Red and think, oh wow, this is even better than Construction of Light. There's some nice soundscapes on here, but I just get the impression it's all old water that they've been treading before. So that I would give it probably give it a 3 stars if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Pushing up.
I can go with that. Okay, Jeremy, what have you got in it?
That's
13, 12, and 11 then?
13, 12, and 11. 13, I have Islands, the 1971 album. I give it 1.5 stars. I noted that it is completely inert. They just feel like their heads are far up their digestive tract. It's precious, pretentious, boring. It's just not a good album. Ladies of the Road is a cool song and is actually took off in some concert recordings I heard of it, but they just sound completely enervated. They sound bored. And then I have at number 12, I have Lizard. I give it 2 stars. That's a 1970 album. It feels wayward. They're virtuoso musicians, but they don't seem to know what they want to say or what they want to do, or they've lost focus, they've lost purpose at this point. And then for 11, I have Three of a Perfect Pair, 1984. I give it 2 stars. This is like the third album in that run, Discipline Beat, Three of
Mm.
a Perfect, and it's just flat. It just does not work. Man with an Open Heart is just so pointless and terrible.
That's awful. That's
There's a
awful.
beautiful instrumental on it called Nuage, which makes you just love Robert Fripp. Like if you could play that to somebody who said, "Who is this Fripp guy and why should I care?" You could play the Nuage and they would care. But then there's other instrumentals that don't work very well. So that's my 13, 12, 11.
Well, we're not a million miles off because at 13, I've got an island and I've given it 1.5 stars. It's just noodling, really, is what I've got written down. Jazz noodling. Um, it's just, yeah, it's really hard work. I just don't get it. I don't like it. It just doesn't work for me. At 12, I've got Lizard. I've gone 2 stars, so it's actually improved to be fair. It's got a weird jazz feel. I actually quite like Circus, but Happy Family's a bit strange. A bit soft machine, but not very good. Lady of the Dancing Water, I quite liked actually.
I
Uh,
love it.
and
Mhm.
the last song's not bad actually, but it just goes on. And then
Okay.
at number 11, I've got The Construction of Light from 2000. And again, sort of mentioned some of the things there. Prozac Blues, not bad. Quite like the solo actually. But they've gone like new metal, which doesn't. I get. I see why, and the drum sounds terrible as well at times on the snare. It's got very much that noughties drum sound, which I'm not a big fan of. And yeah, I mean, I've got like The World's My Oyster, super new metal type song. Some of it's all right. Into the Frying Pan's really dull. I love the title track though, and I love the sort of the weaving of tones. I quite like that. But yeah, those are my choices. It's just, I think I'm afraid is the answer. So, Josie, what have you got at 10, 9, and 8? And what
Oh, I got
star
my
ratings
next
are you
three.
giving them?
Okay. Power to Believe. It's more prog metal, more of the same. I think those last three albums were basically a rehash of sort of some of the finest moments of the past. But I love the opening track. I thought the opening track was lovely. I really love Power to Believe too. I thought it was absolutely superb. It reminds me of a lot of stuff I'm listening to, like non-Crimson bands that I like anyway. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
Dangerous Curves I thought was brilliant as well. Um, I
yeah,
kind of heard a
great
bit of
song sheet.
Alison. I heard a bit of Alice in Chains as I was listening, and I could sort of, apart from the odd Alice in Chains track, I could do without listening to Alice in Chains. It was all right. Power, like I said, Power to Believe 2 absolutely redeemed the whole thing. Like, and if I could take little snippets of the last three, I'd probably make a pretty decent album together. So, I mean, I don't know where I am in the rankings. Probably I'm up at number three.
Yeah,
I give it a three. What have I got? I've got Beat.
at number 9.
Ninth
Yeah.
studio album, 1982. A lot of tension with this one with the band. I think they were all kind of getting at each other's throats a little bit. I love the odd time signatures, some great stuff. Some of it reminds me of, I don't know, it's really some really bland stuff on here. The 80s kind of pop. It could have been absolutely anybody.
Mm.
Requiem, the only time I really perked up with this was when Requiem came on and there was the old Frippatronics kind of kick back in, which I absolutely love.
Mm.
And Requiem reminded me of LA Blues by the Stooges. When it's absolute utter chaos, and it's kind of like a Crimson version of LA Blues, where you think, "Sugar, should I actually turn this off or listen to it?" But I thought it was brilliant. I thought the way it descended into chaos reminded me of the reasons why I loved them in the first place. The kind of that kind of avant-garde esque point to them. So Beat, like I say, 1982. I don't know what I was listening to in 1982, but I absolutely hate the 90s. There's so many horrible things in there, just not fun. But am I up to a three? Am I happy giving it three, Sergio?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh,
Three of a Perfect Pair. Up to the title track is incredible. I tell you what I did last night. I went onto YouTube and I found some footage of an American School of Rock, young kids doing Three of a Perfect Pair. And it
wow.
was absolutely blew me away. It was so amazing. My girls are busy doing a lot of this School of Rock stuff, 17-year-old girls, and they're great. Well, they get paid, they put together, and they come up with their own little thing, and they'll do something that's probably out of their comfort zone. But that cover by those kids was phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. What else was on there? Man with an Open Heart, Jeremy. I totally agree. He's absolutely awful. Title track. Model Man. When I played Model Man, Sid, it's Brass in Pocket by the Pretenders. It's 100% Brass in Pocket, the rip-off. So I just thought, right, okay, I want to do a mashup of Brass in Pocket and Model Man because, it's the kind of work. I mean, Baloo's voice is lovely in this, and I'm not a fan of Baloo's voice, that kind of semi-spoken stuff that they do where he's doing a narrative about something that's happened, normally probably getting robbed, but Lark's Tongue is why I don't know why they'd revisit it. I do like I'm a big fan of David Sylvian solo stuff.
Mm.
And there's a couple of things on here which have a fairly big David Sylvian influence. Brilliant Trees, great album.
Yeah.
And a lot of Three of a Perfect Pair reminded me of some of the David Sylvian solo work. So for that, mainly the title track. I mean, the title track is amazing. Amazing. And guess what? It's 6 really easy chords if anybody wants to do it. It's like G minor, C minor, A minor. It's really easy stuff. So I think if I ever get around to forming a band, I could probably handle that rather than Fripp's insane cross picking that he's just blows everybody away. So I give it 3.5. I mean, it's as much
All
for
right,
the opening
okay.
track,
All right. Very good
as
album.
much for the opening track as anything else.
Okay, good shout there. Jeremy, what have you got in at 10, 9, and 8?
10, 9, and 8. So this really surprised me, but at number 10, with 2 stars, is Beat. I just found Baloo is just completely annoying. And I think at the time I was so under the spell of Talking Heads and David
Mm,
Byrne
yeah.
that for some reason I didn't mind that Baloo was completely ripping them off, even with some of the lyrical approaches, storytelling approaches taking off from Byrne. But I think I just wanted more of that at the time. But one has aged very well, and the other not so much. So I really just found it annoying. Requiem I wrote as a highlight, mainly because there are no vocals. But and it's hard to say that it's a two-star album because Fripp, Bruford, and Levin, I mean, they're incredible. Bruford's got that swing. We'll talk about that later. I
Oh
just
yeah.
absolutely love his drumming. Construction of Light at number 9, 2.5 stars. It's a very uneven album, but some of the good stuff is very good.
Mm,
And I actually liked the way it connected to the Faith No More and Tool elements that were happening in music around that time. I think that's cool. Lark's Tongue is a convincing return to Red territory, I felt. And Fractured is just another gorgeous Fripp moment where you're just reveling in the sonics. Then you get at number 8, The Power to Believe, number 2.5. It's another uneven album. I mean, these are 9 and 8, they're almost interchangeable, but I think I kind of liked the the songs I liked them better. That song Dangerous Curves, I mean, that's just a hot song, you know what I
Yes,
mean?
great.
That's just a
terrific song.
cool song. And you just crank it up and it just feels free. It feels like they're having
Yeah.
fun and it's working all the way. There's a whole lot of narrative around this album with the percussion. Doesn't It's a little clattery, but it's not like I wouldn't say, "Oh, you should go and re-record this entire album with acoustic drums." Like I think they did that. It's just sort of like it was what it was. I don't mind electronic drums. They're not the best on that album, but it also doesn't. That's not what sinks the album. It's Baloo who sinks the album again with clever, too clever by half songs like "Happy with What." Like it's just a terrible song. He's just so annoying. He's a fantastic guitarist though.
Brilliant
He's
guitarist.
unbelievable. I mean, on the stage album with Bowie, just killer player.
Mm.
Why make him the vocalist? Just not good. So I think that's it for me. And that one's 2.5 stars. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah. Good. I love Adrian
10,
Belew.
9, 8.
Brilliant. My number 10 is Power to Believe from 2003. You've said all the key things there. I mean, Dangerous Curve is a fantastic song. Power to Believe Part 2 is Brill, what Paul mentioned before, the Friptronics. Love it. Electronic, I quite like as well. A few different styles to it. Definitely a metal element to it though, but it's good. There's a lot of heavy sort of stabs in it as well. So, but it does ponder a bit at times. But it's 2.5 stars. It's not bad. It's fair. Number 9, I've got In the Wake of Poseidon. Um, I like the chilled opening from the second album, as it happens. I like the opening. Pictures of a City sounds like Jethro Tull meets Black Sabbath. It's what I've written here. It's definitely got that sort of feel to it. There's some nice stuff on it. I like Cadence and Cascade with Gordon Haskell, really
Oh,
good.
beautiful.
Wake of Poseidon's a good melancholy song. Peace, the little short guitar interlude is actually too short, in my opinion. I thought that could be brilliant. Cat food, it's a bit Steely Dan in a weird sort of way, I thought, is what I've written down, yeah. And then the Devil's Triangle, I've just got in big bracket words here, rubbish. I've just got noodle and rubbish written next to it.
I thought you were a Doctor Who fan, Sid.
So I've removed a mark from it, so it's gone out to 2.5. And then my last one in at number 8 is Lark's Tongues in Aspic. From 1973. I've listened to it over and over again. I've read all the reviews. This keeps coming at number 1 on loads of people's charts, and I can't see why. It's I just don't get it. Maybe it's just me. You'll see why when my choices are so different to yours going to be later on. It's maybe it's just not my cup of tea really. It's yeah. I've just written. The title track's got again a Black Sabbath style riff on it, really sort of heavy, which I quite liked. but the song doesn't work. Books of Saturday. Exiles is really dull, terrible singing. Easy Money, again, it's got a bit of a Pink Floyd groove of what I've written on it here, actually. Bruford's drumming is unbelievable. What a drummer he is. I think probably him and Phil Collins are my two favorite prog drummers. They're both absolutely remarkable, and he's a great, great drummer. Um, yeah, talk and drum, I really quite like. That sort of Romany gypsy feel with is it a viola on there? It might be a viola. And
And
then
violin, I think.
yeah, and then Lark's Tongues Part 2 is actually good, whereas I don't like Lark's Tongues Part 1. Um, make of that if you will, folks. So those are my choices. I think I'm down to seven now. Yeah, that's right. So, Paul, what have you got in at seven? We're just going to do single albums now. What have you got in at seven? We're on the big seven.
Well, you want my next three? It gets good from now on in,
Yeah.
I think.
My last one was 2.5 stars as well. Sorry, go on. Yeah,
Mhm. Really.
Yeah,
So I've
just
got
give us number
Islands in
seven. Just
next.
just give us number seven, Paul.
number
Okay,
seven,
Islands.
Islands.
Um,
Mm.
the two albums between In the Wake of Poseidon and the kind of John Wetton era were a bit iffy, but I think Islands is a great album. There's some lovely stuff on it. Ladies of the Road, brilliant. Yeah, they had two songs which were kind of about hookers, basically. Ladies of the Road and Easy Money. Um, the lyrics are terrible. I mean, they're just lyrics, cultural relativism. They wouldn't hold up now. But Formentera Lady, I love everything about it. Boz Burrell's on there, and for a band who prided themselves on being fairly jazzy, I think there was a point at which Boz Burrell was going to leave and they asked him to stay. And Fripp said, basically, we'll teach you how to play a bass, because he wasn't the greatest bass. I mean, crikey, that could have been me, sort of. I would love to have been there. But Sailor's Tale, the guitar solo in Sailor's Tale is beautiful anyway, but the guitar solo in Sailor's Tale, if you think of like Keith Levine from Pill doing all that very angular guitar, I mean, you can easily trace it back to Fripp. I mean, you can trace a lot of things back to Fripp anyway, but the guitar solo in that is absolutely beautiful. Like I say, Prelude Islands, I think, is absolutely beautiful as well, the way it kind of like codas the album and leads out. It's a really underrated album. I think a lot of people forget it. I love the cover. Cover's great. I love the fact that their name is not on the cover. And this ties into how I imagine what I think about Crimson as a kid. They were really slightly offbeat, and they did this. There's something slightly different about them, There's a lot of all the synonyms of a very unsettling band. There's nothing straightforward. There's no blues rock thing there. There's no pentatonic scales. It's all angular, and it's the diminished scale which he uses all over the place.
Mm.
But this is kind of where Crimson get really great for me, and I would happily play this album over and over again. I think it's a great album.
So, how many stars, Paul?
I would give it 3.5 because we're going up now, aren't
Yeah.
we?
Okay. So, Jeremy, what have you got in at number seven?
Number seven, I have In the Wake of Poseidon, album number two. And this feels to me like one of those records, a little like Pink Floyd's second album, where they had some ideas left over from the debut, and then they didn't really have another album in them, but they still made an album.
Yeah.
So it starts off really well. And then you have Cat Food, which is a great groove, and I love the piano on that song, but the lyrics are really dumb. Like they shouldn't really try to be funny. I think I talked about that before because it's just not doesn't like sardonic, yes. Having that angled view on society and people's activities and the way people treat each other. Yes, sarcasm, but just trying to be like funny, it doesn't work for me. So yeah, not a lot to say about it. It's one of those sophomore slumps, 2.5 stars. I'm still in the 2.5 star
Two
realm.
halves, right? Well, my number seven from 1995 is Thrack, and I've gone 3 stars. I think it's quite a good album, actually. It's a touch too long. Unfortunately, it's the CD era, and people used to think that I filled them, which I've mentioned a number of times. But there's some really good songs on it. I love Room. I love like the start off great. I thought Coda Marine 475, odd name, but the sort of descending guitar tune I liked. Dinosaur was a bit weird. I was not a big fan of that one. Walking on Air, I thought it was a bit like a John Lennon song. It was a bit, a bit out of place. But Boom is a good drum workout. I've written Thrack is really heavy, similar to Red, is what I've written in big brackets here. Um, it's definitely got that 90s sound. One Time's a good tune, got a bit of Roxy music sort of feel to it. And then Sex, Sleep, Eat, Dreams, a really good song. And Vroom Vroom, definitely influenced by Red at the end there. And I like that a lot. I think it's a good album actually. I think it's a good sort of comebacky album. So it's got 3 stars for me. It sort of just makes it. I think it might just be under, but I'll give it 3. I'm going to feel quite generous there. So, so Jonesy, what have you got in at number 6?
Number 6, I've got Discipline. So I'm kind of linking the latter period to to the early period. I think I thought it was great. It's a great album. What a comeback. What, 7 year gap, I think,
Mhm.
between 1981, eighth album, 7 year gap. Great comeback after 7 years. I think he was off doing a lot of other stuff, I mean, he's got so many other irons in the fire, the Bowie and the Frippin' stuff, but brilliant. I mean, sort of, they've had to embrace a new wave or whatever else was going on. So they've dived headfirst in there. 2 absolutely stunning opening tracks. What Elephant Talk, Frame by Frame? I think Frame by Frame is easily up there with some of the greatest playing. The cross picking on that is absolutely insane. That's no matter how many YouTube videos I watch, I still probably wouldn't be able to handle the cross picking in frame by frame. Stunning, absolutely 2 absolutely stunning opening tracks. That I could have done without the elephant noises and elephant talk. I think it kind of winds you up a little bit. It sort of gives it a little comedic feel, which I think they can do without. It's such a groover. Mate Kudasai is basically Sleepwalk by The Ventures, as done by Jeff Beck, but Jeff Beck's version. So I love Jeff Beck's version of Sleepwalk, and so as I heard Mate Kudasai, I thought, my God, it's Sleepwalk. So the bit of an odd kind of come down, as it were. One thing that kind of caught me, there's that Hun Ginjit is an absolute groove, but the one thing it made me do was listen to Tina Marie. Do you know the Behind the Groove by Tina Marie? One of the greatest songs ever. And the bass lick is completely lifted
Tina
from,
Marie. I wasn't
yeah,
expecting that to go
the
on.
bass lick is completely lifted from Behind the Groove by Tina Marie.
Right.
Now, Behind the Groove is an amazing song. I was playing Discipline and I thought, oh my God, what does that remind me of? And I went and played Tina Marie and I just forgot about Discipline and started dancing around
Wow.
the kitchen. She was a Rick James prodigy, I thought, but an incredible
Yeah,
voice as well. So it did lead me on to Tina Marie, which is never a bad thing. But and
probably
then
Rick James on the bass on that song.
yeah, amazing. What a great song. But so I think it's a great comeback. There's a few little bits of filler on there. I think Sheltering Sky's all right. The track and Discipline, okay, but maybe there's 4 great songs on here, which I think, okay, if I took frame by frame, if I took Discipline, Beat, and 3 of a perfect pair, I could probably once again make a perfect album out of those 3.
So how many stars have you given this one then?
I'd give it a 4. I
Right,
really,
four
I
stars.
really liked it. The more I was playing it, the more I was getting into
So
it.
4 stars were reached. It's an excellent album. Okay, then Jeremy, what have you got on at number 6?
I have Discipline at number 6. So we have
Hmm.
actually crossed paths
Wow.
here. Although I only give it 3 stars, as I wrote down that there's an almost litigious debt to the Talking Heads, and now probably to Rick James as well, and Tina
It's Rick
Marie.
James.
But I have to go back and listen to that. I've not
Yeah,
heard
no,
that
it doesn't ring a bell.
in a long, long time. But there is an excitement to it which Beat doesn't have, because Beat, they're then making the second album, so that's why I have it higher up at number 6. There's an excitement to it. You feel that energy, and it's just kind of like, wow, they have come out of being a prog rock band into being a new wave art rock band, or not a transition that you see very often. I just thought that was a really cool thing to do. And like I said, at the time, I absolutely loved it. I listen to it all the time. I find it just too much Baloo at this point. I have lost my place for the man. I wrote here that his shtick hasn't aged as well as his guitar playing, which is always on point.
So how many stars, Jeremy?
Three.
Three. Okay, so it's a good album. Well, my number six is Starless and Black Bible, which I've given 3.5 stars to. I think it's a very good album. Great Deceivers, really dark, really heavy. I don't know what they do with the guitars, but my Lord, it's so heavy, isn't it? It's like we're in Black Sabbath territory with a detuning sort of sound. Lament, I love John Wetton's vocals on it. I think they're absolutely superb. Really, really works. Bill Bruford's, oh man, he's just so good. He's such an incredible drummer. You can see why Genesis got him in for a year when Phil was singing. Just brilliant. We'll let you know. Good instrumental, quite dark and heavy. I might be harsh on this one. The Night Watch, great guitar work by Fripp. I think it's fantastic. Trio, nice interlude. The Mincer, what a weird title that is. I'm still not sure what it's about.
Careful.
And then the title track, long but good instrumental. Um, and then Fracture, very heavy instrumental, but I love the groove on it. So I mean, I've gone 3.5, and I could have maybe gone 4 on it if I'm being honest, because I really like this. You've got to be in the mood for it, of course. It's not something you're just going to casually whack on. But 3.5 stars for Starless and Black Bible. Good album from 1974, and they did 2 albums in one year, didn't they? So
Mhm.
again, that's quite remarkable, really. Paul, what have we got at number 5?
In the Wake of Poseidon, 1970, second album. I think Greg Lake was still involved at this point, although he was kind of wasn't going to be around for much longer. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's probably probably the second album I ever bought by this. So it was kind of the early stuff I love, I think the mellotron is a quintessential prog instrument, I think if you can stick the mellotron in anything and you think, right, I've just given that a 70s makeover.
Well,
I know you're a
they
big
had
fan of
two.
Free Sid, so if
They
you listen
had
to My
two,
Brother
Paul.
Jake,
They had
what's that?
two. They had
They had
two
two
Mellotrons,
Mellotrons.
and they sold one to Genesis.
Really?
Yeah, that's how Genesis got their Mellotron. They bought it off King Crimson.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Wow.
there you go.
My Brother Jake by Free, I
Mm.
think second chord, the mellotron kicks in halfway through it, and it gives it a really lovely ethereal touch.
It has got an ethereal sound to it,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah. It's a great song. And I always think that the long and winding road, those strings are really schmaltzy at the end. Have they put the mellotron on instead of, that would have given it an absolutely fabulous
Actually,
lift.
that's a very valid point. Actually, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
that could be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think there's a big bone of contention with the strings on Long and Winding Road. I think some people love
Yes.
it, some people hate it. I think Phil Spector basically ruined it for me. It's an
Yeah.
amazing song. It's a beautiful song.
Well, not to
And then,
digress too much, but Paul
yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely
But so I
definitely
love everything about Wake Up Beside. I think Peace is a beautiful opener. Um, like I say, Cat Food. I don't know how anybody can not love Cat Food's brilliant. It's absolutely stunning. It's stunning, and basically one of the only appearance on Top of the Pops as well, doing Cat Food. It's an amazing, amazing track. Devil's Triangle, Sid, as a Doctor Who fan, they actually used a piece of Devil's Triangle in an old episode of Doctor Who. One of
Was that in
the
the
early.
Demons? Was it?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's amazing. It's pretty. I made a big nod to Gustav Holst, the
Right.
planets, that Mars Bringer of War. I think Devil's
Mhm.
Triangle is basically Gustav Holst. But
Yeah.
I love it. Cadence and Cascade. I do wish Gordon Haskell hadn't sung it, and I wish and there is a clip somewhere of Greg Lake singing it. It's such a beautiful song, one of my favorite
Mm.
songs. And they were really great at this, having this kind of very, like, sort of very disturbing, unsettling kind of music, and then they put these little vignettes, these little gorgeous little ballads in. And I wish I'd rather hear the Greg Lake version rather than Gordon Haskell's. I think he fell out with the band as well. He was an old school friend of Fripp's, and I think that he ended up saying that the whole thing was just rubbish. But I do love Wake Up Poseidon. I think it's a lovely album. It's a really, really great album. Pictures of a City is beautiful. I don't know how you don't like that, Sid. Amazing, amazing song. I love everything about it. So I'm gonna. It's getting up to what was my last roll? Was it 4? Am I
You're up
giving
to
something a
4,
4?
yeah.
I'll give this a 4 as well.
Right, okay. Right. Jeremy, what have you got in at number 5?
Number five, somewhat surprisingly, I have Thrack. I give it 3.5 stars. The 11-year gap between this album and the previous one served them well. I also think it's kind of crazy that they had six. It's a six-person band, with it's like two trios. That
Mm.
whole they never recorded a whole album like that again, and it's really kind of fun. I think it feels more convincingly 90s than some of their other stuff from that time. And Baloo's vocals are actually better. I feel like he's singing more naturally and not trying to be quirky new wave guy anymore. He's just kind of, okay, I've got this tenor voice. I can just sort of sing and be a person and not try to be somebody else. There's a drum solo on there that's a little too long. I think you've mentioned it as well. It's kind of pointless, but that's really the only downside. I think it's a pretty terrific album, a lot of dynamic range. When you're listening to King Crimson, they started off with In the Court of the Crimson King, and that set the tone, right? So then you start thinking like, well, what do we value about King Crimson? And one of the things we value about them, I think, is light and shade, not to borrow something from Jimmy Page, but the dynamic range, the very, very quiet, and then the very loud and very heavy. And I think this album does that well. So yeah, my number five is Thrack. Three
Okay,
and a half stars.
right, good choice. Well, my number five is Three of a Perfect Pair,
Hmm.
from 1984, the last of those three albums, if you like, with that lineup, which is a great lineup in my opinion. Great title track using the Chapman stick. I love that. I genuinely love that sound, and he's obviously used it with Peter Gabriel and everything else as well. Tony Levin. I mean, what a player he is. He's played with everybody, hasn't he? He's an amazing musician. Model Man, I've written here, has a real XTC feel to it.
Hmm.
I can definitely hear it, and it's
Yeah.
again, it's sort of that. It's just post new wave sound, but it's got a real sound to it. Sleepless, I love the rhythm on it. Man with an Open Heart. You got the Friptronics sort of, yeah, nudges sort of Friptronics on it. It's yeah, I really like that. Terrific tune. Industry Dark, loads of bass and drums. Dig Me is unhinged but good. That's what I've written here. And Logs, Tongues and Aspects Part 3. Again, I quite like it. So I like part two and I like part three. I just didn't like part one, and I've gone 4 stars. I think it's an excellent album. I really like it. It's a really good album. So we've hit quite high marks for me at this point. From being 1.5 stars to 4 was pretty impressive for a band. So I like this album a lot. I think it's a super album. So Paul, what have you got in at number 4?
Number four, we got In the Court debut album, 1969. Probably one of the most iconic cover artworks of all time.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Greg Lake's voice is work of a thing of
Hmm.
beauty for me. I could listen to it. Greg Lake singing the phone book, I'd be quite happy. Um, it's kind of hard to know what to say about it. I think everything's been said about this album. I don't think I could add anything new other than what all the experts have chipped in with as well. So it's beautiful. I've heard it on, I've heard so many DJs. I think I heard the guy from Fun Loving Criminals, Huey Lewis, or not Huey Lewis,
Yeah. Huey Morgan, is it?
Huey Morgan was playing. I heard him on playing Moonchild once, and he's going, "Oh, yeah, that's a great song, man." This is on like BBC, Radio One in the afternoon or something a few years back. So, I mean, there's nothing I can say about it. It's utterly beautiful. They do have, I mean, that 21st Century Schizoid, man. It's almost beyond iconic. It's even people who don't like prog will probably take a nod to that. I once heard even a preacher on. I was listening to some religious program once, and Ravi Zacharias, who's a really dodgy kind of televangelist. He quoted 21st Century Schizoid, man, some lyrics to prove some point he was making. Weird to prove some point he was making about whatever he was trying to, something fairly right wing and some bluster. And I thought, my God, why is he quoting King Crimson? If only he knew. But I Talk to the Wind's beautiful, absolutely beautiful song. Moonchild, I love the fact that like you've got to let it drift on. The opening refrain starts, and then they drift off into this kind of like a dreamlike state where nothing much is happening. And I agree, Jeremy. What I love about Crimson is a kind of quiet, loud thing, but there's a lot of quietness, and sometimes it's barely discernible. They do a lot of songs where they start from an absolute point of silence,
Mm.
and then the song builds, and you think, "Oh my God, I better turn the volume. What's happening to my stereo?" But it's because they're happy to do that, and I think that's probably one of the great things about the '70s is that I think artists had a lot more leeway with experimentation and being avant-garde. And this probably album probably made the charts. It probably wouldn't get anywhere now, but I don't know. There's probably very little I can
It
say
did. It got to number
about it.
5 in the UK,
Really.
28 in the USA.
Amazing, amazing. It probably wouldn't happen now because I don't know if people have the taste for it now. It's sort of
Mm.
it's fairly niche interest music, I
Yep.
think, but incredible. I can't think of what I can add to it that a thousand other critics have not already pointed out. So
So how many stars?
I will give it. I'm in the five territory now, I'm
That's
afraid.
right.
So
Five's all the way from now for Jonesy. 5 it is. So Jeremy,
Cool.
what have you got in at number 4?
Number four, I have Lark's Tongues and Aspic, which give 3.5 stars. And it's interesting because the previous albums that I ranked, there was a real mixture of all the different periods. And I guess that's still the case because there was a big split before this album and the band was reformed yet again. And once again, you feel that energy. It's like Fripp. I understand that he can be a little bit prickly, and at a certain point, I think he just needs to work with new people.
Yeah.
And putting together this band seemed to really bring him back to life. They just sound like they have a lot of purpose, unlike those Wayward albums after the debut, where you just feel like they're on top of it. And I have to say, Ian Wallace is one of my least favorite drummers of all time. So having to slog through, what was it, 3 albums with him, and then Bruford is there. You're just like, thank God.
The step up in drumming quality is remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like I don't even know how did Ian Wallace get into this echelon where he's playing with these musicians. He's just very, very dry and flat and sort of lead-footed.
Yeah, but you go from an all right
Bruford
drummer
just
to one of the greatest drummers of all time, who would
yeah,
probably be in
Bruford
my
just
top
has that
5,
swing.
you know?
I think the main thing that I was lacking here was just a feeling that the songs meant something to them as songs, which when they are at their best, they do seem to have a point of view. And I didn't really get much of a point of view here, except like we're artsy guys who have read a lot of books and poems and stuff. So it didn't really take off. But then again, was this the first album without Pete Sinfield? It
yeah, I
might have
think
been.
Lock's Tongues was first album.
Oh, and the other thing I would say about this album, one of the reasons I only give it 3.5 stars, I think Jamie Muir, if you have Bruford there, don't mess him up with the percussionist who's like this kind of weird jester figure. Have you watched any of the footage with him? He's just
No.
he's a bit of a he's a bit of a prankster, I think. And I would just rather hear Bruford on his own. So we'll get plenty of that later on. But that is my number four,
Well,
Lark's Tongues.
my number 4 is from 1982 and it's Beat. I think it's a fabulous album. Really love it. Just love the whole playing. I love the whole Talking Heads stroke Police sound on it. And Police is interesting because, of course, Fripp was from the same place as Andy Summers, and I believe they were in
True.
the same band at one point, although different points. But there you go. And they may have had, did they have the same guitar tutor? That's something weird like that, but they are from the same village or something. It's really strange. But yeah, in Andy Summers' book, he mentions him a number of times. Oh, and I come in and I replaced, and of course they did an album together as well years later, which is a fabulous album actually. So I love it. It's based on the Beats, of course, hence the title, The Beat Poets. So you got the first track was Neil, Jack, and Me about Kerouac and Neil Cassidy about being on the road, which I love. Love this song. Heartbeat, another theme based on Cassidy's wife Carolyn. It's really poppy. Really, it's the most pop song I think that they ever do.
Mm.
But I really like it. Satori in Tangier is great. It derives its title from Kerouac's Satori in Paris, And I've just written here big letters, brilliant drumming by Bill Bruford. As, Tony Levin's chapsticks are also great. I love the sort of superb instrumental sounds. Waiting Man, I've written here, sounds like a Tom Tom Club song, but I really like it. Neurotica, claustrophobic song, love the groove. Two Hands, not bad. That's the one weak track on the album for me. Sounds a bit like a Sting song, is what I've written here. And I like Sting, may I add, but not in this context. The Howler's a good song, and Requiem, I love it. I think it's got great guitars and everything. It's 4 stars for me. I think it's an excellent album. So yeah, that's mine. So we're up to number three now, then, Paul. What have you got at number three?
Oh, well, a bit of a bone of contention. I've got Red at number three. Um, One of my favorite albums of all time. I kind of, once again, I don't really know what to say about it. I don't think I can add anything that hasn't been said by a billion other critics. Unbelievably, I mean, 1974. I mean, who was doing this sort of stuff in 1974? Talk about the later stuff being more prog metal. This is kind of the origins of prog metal for me. Incredible album. There's not a single note I would change. Um, the thing with Crimson for me is the great attention and release. They do a lot of this, talk about light and shade. They're absolutely amazing at building tension. And then you feel really unnerved by it. And then they have this explosion of this release. I think for Starless, which is one of the greatest pieces of music ever written, the release is actually quite positive, where a lot of the other stuff, the tension build up is in there normally because it's even darker as well. But I don't know. There's not a single track not a single thing I would change on this album. Even Providence, which was an improvised piece, to me is incredible. I would never skip Providence because I think there's a bit where it kicks in, that the riff kicks in. It's so incredibly funky. Wetton's bass is an absolute thing of beauty. I mean, talk about John Jack Spinell from the Stranglers. He must have ripped off Wetton at some point. That growling bass is just incredible. There's basically nothing I can say about it that I couldn't add anything more than this that hasn't been said by a million other brilliant critics. I mean, Kurt Cobain famously loved Red. I think it was found on his on one of his tapes, when the police got to his house or something. Big fan of Red, but I don't know. There's nothing I can say about it. It's amazing. What I love is one more thing. The cover. Fripp absolutely hated the cover. First time that they had their faces on the cover rather than something like a picture of a crab nebula or something like that. And what I love is the fact that Wetton's grin is so sinister. It's like I love the juxtaposition of Wetton's grin, and obviously Fripp's been a bit of a misery guts. But I look at John Wetton on that cover and I think he's kind of the juxtaposition of the music, which is really dark and foreboding, and his little grin, which so he's saying like, "Ha, get a load of this." But one of the truly great rhythm sections of all time, I think Wetton Prophet, incredible. I don't know where David Cross is. I don't know if David Cross was on this. I think the Starless started out as a violin piece from Cross, and then Fripp put that guitar piece on. But that guitar is the most mournful thing I've ever heard. It just sounds like the end of the world. It's totally, totally beautiful album, incredible album,
Brilliant.
unbelievable. If I could give it more than five, I'd give it more than five. Six.
Okay. Jeremy, what have you got at number three?
Number three, I have the debut in the Court of the Crimson King. I give it 4.5 stars. It's interesting because going into this process, I wanted to challenge my assumption that this would be my number one album. So I really listened to everything else first. Everything else I listened to chronologically, except for this one, because it is one that I'm very familiar with.
Yeah.
First one I bought, one I listened to an absolute ton. So then, after having listened to all that stuff, all the ups and the downs, I put this one on and I realized that it was not my number one, it was my number three. And partly it's because side one is absolutely flawless. If side two had been as good as side one, it would have been number one. I mean, it's just an incredible statement of purpose. The recording is absolutely beautiful. For 1969, they worked really hard just on the sonic, just the sound of it, the precise, very clean. You can hear every little bit of the percussion, but then it's also like massively heavy. So you can see that they're playing around with some things. And then you get to side two and things, the stuff where they drift off a little bit, it does feel a little bit noodly, and the songwriting kind of declines into something like a little less interesting to me. It's not bad. It just does not retain the full energy of side one. So that's why I put it here. And it really is extraordinary. But also now listening to it, 50 odd years on, I can also now hear, because when I remember when I originally got it, I was like, oh my God, this was the start of a new era. Nobody had ever done anything like this before. It's completely original. Where did they come from? But then again, Moody Blues, Days of Future Past, it was 2 years earlier. And even though I had that album for a long time and eventually sold it because it just got less and less interesting over time, you can certainly hear a zeitgeist beginning to brew on that album that led to King Crimson. The use of the Mellotron on that album is pretty great. And also, it's a concept album. There's a lot that could be, you can definitely draw a line, and that's 2 years earlier. So just that sense of, okay, maybe they were a little more of their time than I realized at first. So that's really why it's number three. It's a fantastic album, one of the great debuts of all time, I have to say. I haven't watched your opening tracks show yet, but damn, 21st Century Schizoid, man.
Yeah,
That's a good way to open a record.
it may have been mentioned. I can't remember now. So my number three is the same album, and I've given it 4 stars. And the reason why is because I was thinking of other albums that I've done in the past when we did Genesis, and like for example, albums like Nursery Crime and all those, which are pretty similar times, and Trespass, clearly influenced by this.
Mhm.
And I was giving them fours and fours and a half, four and a half, and I think they're better. So I'm giving it four. And sorry, folks, I'm just like Genesis more. And but 21st Century Schizoid Man is amazing. It's an incredible opener. It's an absolute groundbreaker. It's almost like the forerunner for Roxy Music's For Your Pleasure album. It
Mm.
could definitely fit in on certainly on the side two of that album. Absolutely. Just before sort of the Bogus Man or something, it would fit in perfectly. But it's an incredible song. When I first heard that, I thought, my God, that's crazy. I think I was about 16 when I first heard it. But then the rest of the album was so different because it
Mm.
had none of that. None of the rest of the album was like that. I think, oh, okay, that's not what I was expecting. So there's some great songs. I mean, I Talk to the Wind's fantastic ballad. It's
Mm.
beautiful, absolutely
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So gorgeous.
Epitaph, I love it, and I've just written here. I love the Mellotron. I've written Genesis, pastoral song. um, but Moonchild, the noodling seriously gets on my nerves. It's like, oh. And then the last track, the title track's, really good. And a big shout out for the artwork. The poor soul, he did one painting and he died, didn't he? That was literally his painting, the lad who did it. He was 24. I think he had a heart attack and died. And it's now in Robert Fripp's house, I believe. It was literally on the wall of
Mm.
the record company. He went in and just took it. So fair dues, as far as I'm concerned. If somebody's got the right to it, Robert Fripp has. So yeah, it's a terrific album. It is a game changer in many respects. You can absolutely see how it's often hailed as the sort of the godfather of prog albums, if you like, because it sets out a template that was taken and then extended on by Genesis and Yes and all of those bands from that period of time. So yeah, it's a cracking album. But 4 stars for me, and that's just because of Moonchild, which I've deducted some marks for. So what
Mhm.
got at number two then?
Is it me?
Yeah.
Right. Starless, 1974, Starless and Bible Black. We'll finally come to my background as well. Did anybody get it?
No.
It's basically The Night Watch by Rembrandt.
Oh, right, right, right.
Right.
Yeah. So
Man, of
featuring probably what well yeah in the Rijksmuseum at
course
present,
it's the
but
Night Watch.
the lyrics of the Night Watch is some of the most absolute beautiful poetry ever. It's stunning, absolutely stunning song featuring probably one of the greatest guitar solos I would ever imagine. One of Fripp's absolute masterwork guitar solos. Total that like beautifully smooth legato that he puts in there is unheralded. I'm sorry, but an incredible track, an absolute work of art. the first two tracks on Starless, what a great one-two punch. Basically, there's a lot of heavy metal in there. Great to see Van Lament. I think Lament is such a stunning song. I think a little take on the music industry as well. The sort of very reminiscent of Floyd's Have a Cigar. I think there was a lot of cynicism around at the time. But the Night Watch, as I say, absolutely beautiful. Trio, I think famously, Trio, Bruford was given a songwriting credit on Trio for basically not playing anything. So they did that song, and he got he got a songwriting credit for basically like sort of like restraint or something like that. And so he thought, well, this is too good. There's no point in me joining in. So I mean, if that's the case, then I want a songwriting credit on billions of things I've listened, because I've never joined in anything as well. I just love everything about this album. It's a really big part of my youth, like in amongst all the other stuff, the Bowie stuff that I had, and the Roxy and Yes and Genesis. I think Starless was such a part of my DNA, such a big part of my growing up. This just it's almost like a perfect album for me. I'll say almost. I think I could do without the Mincer. The Mincer's another little improvised piece. It doesn't seem to like go anywhere. But Fracture is one of the most incredible pieces of music ever. I love the noodling. Don't get me said. I don't know how you don't like noodling. Noodling's a big part of the avant-garde. You need some self-indulgence. So that noodling is a brilliant kind of forerunner to the things that are about to come. So with Fracture, they lull you into this little false sense of security, and then they kick in with a riff and drive it home. But it's an incredible piece of music. I love that. I don't know what I can say. I just absolutely love it. I love every single note. There's probably not a thing I would change on it.
Right, great choice. I love a bit of noodling, but it's got to be right. So things like
Yeah,
Return of the
you've got to be
Giant
noodling.
Heartbeat, all that. But there we have it. Jeremy, what have you got at number two?
And number two, I have Red, 1974. This was the last King Crimson album until Discipline. It
Hmm.
really was the end of an era. It takes off quite a bit from the album prior to it, Starless and Bible Black. Both of them incorporate a lot of improvised live material that they blend in with studio material. It's this one it's very sleek and mean. It's just kind of like it's almost a little more one, not I wouldn't say it's one note, but it's a little more narrowly focused on just being like, we're going to be the sleekest, meanest, heaviest, toughest version of King Crimson you ever heard. And so it's got a bit more studio polish to it than Starless. It's a fantastic album. It's I think as a unit they were so tight at that point that it's almost a little like, am I actually allowed to listen to you play? Like they're just throwing off this like almost this wall of like, we are unto ourselves. And it's really quite a magnificent album. That was one that I remember looking for a lot when I was a kid. And because in the Rolling Stone record guy or wherever it was gotten high, got high marks. Somewhere I learned that it was supposed to be extra. I never ever saw that record in the bins, so I never bought it.
Yeah, when I had the record shop, it's not an album that appeared very often, if I'm being perfectly
Maybe it's
honest.
just
Yeah,
everybody who bought it
yeah,
kept it.
yeah.
So when I finally heard it, I was like, darn, I wish I'd heard this earlier. It's so good. Yeah, so we're in five-star territory.
Right, well, my number two is still 4 stars. So will I get the five? All will be revealed so soon. And my number two is also Red. I love the guitar heaviness on it. It's really claustrophobic. Again, you've got to be in the mood for it, but Red's a terrific instrumental. It's so heavy. And again, we really got that sort of Sabbathy sort of slab of guitar sound, if you like, but obviously technically a bit better. But it's quite unnerving, which I like as well. It could easily be in sort of a film, it's definitely got that sort of soundtrack element to it.
Mm.
I think the best song on the album is Fallen Angel. I think it's absolutely magnificent. Some great bass on it as well. Just a fantastic song. One more, Red Nightmare. Excellent. It's just brilliant. But Providence, I've knocked a star off because I absolutely hate it.
No,
Just
no,
noodling is what I've got written here. I've got noodling and
no.
boring is what I've written here. and then
No,
and then Star and then
you're
Starless
wrong. Sid, you're wrong.
and then
It's only
Starless
8 minutes long, man. It's not that, you
and then I've
know.
got Starless, a fantastic song to conclude. If they just chopped the song off, it would have been a five-star killer, but uh, but it's not. So I've given it 4 stars because of that one song. I've cut the star off for it because yeah, you can't have like 20% of the album with which I just find boring. So yeah, otherwise brilliant, absolute masterpiece. I mean, it's really really heavy, really dark. But brilliant. Absolutely love it. The musicianship's amazing. But Bill Bruford, what a player. I don't keep mentioning him, but he is. He's
I have to get one more dig in at Ian Wallace. They put out a live album during his tenure with the band, which was called Earthbound. And I was like, well, that's just perfect. He's an earthbound drummer. He never lifts off. I
no,
had
he
that album for a
doesn't.
while. I sold it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a very valid point because the level increase is just remarkable. So forward to number one then.
I'm still trying to get over Providence. Come on, man. I'm not having it. That's 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 an improvised piece. Two musicians who are absolutely locked in.
Uh,
They're locked in. They're just like Toshak and Keegan, just incredible syncopation. Anyway, I've got Lark's Tongues at number one. That's probably. I was doing a friend's house up a couple of weeks ago, and I took some CDs around, and I put Lark's Tongues on, and then it got to the end, and I put it on again, and it got to the end, and I just thought, oh, I'll put it on again. It's an absolutely brilliant album. 1973, the fifth album, just before. Then they had Red after that, and then everything kind of just took a sabbatical, I think. But there's not a single note on this I would change. I think it's utterly beautiful album. Book of Saturday is one of just so beautiful. It's a beautiful ballad. It's unbelievably beautiful. Everything about it is kind of mournful. It's kind of dark and light at the same time. The opener, Lark's Tongues, I hear bits of Hitchcock. I think if you were to think of it in terms of like a movie soundtrack, there's all sorts going on there. I love the urgency and the side of there's a kind of like rushed sort of paranoia about it. The Cross's violin's beautiful. Easy Money is just incredible. Once again, that tension and release where they start off with the song and then break it down, and then they'll play about with it, so lull you into a little trap, and then they build it up, and there's the little laughing thing at the end. I'm not sure what that is. Talking Drum is incredible piece of music.
it
It's
is great.
incredible.
It is great,
Mhm.
actually.
It is an absolutely beautiful piece of music. It really, really deeply unnerving. In the beginning, the trumpet, it feels like I'm in some kind of really arid, dry desert, watching some kind of decay. And then the slow fading of the drum is unbelievable. That tension and the way they just hit you with that rhythm and never ever let up, and the kind of the screeching at the end. Incredible. Lark's Tongues at the end
At that point, this is Paul. This is where if you had a PowerPoint, you could have just clicked on the next slide and had a desert there in your background.
no, no. Yeah, I'm not the tech. I'm not like you tech heads, but no, I love everything about it. It's probably one of my favorite albums ever. Forget Crimson or forget any genre, prog or whatever like that. I'd happily play it next to my Barry White records, and my Tina Marie records, of course.
Tina Marie, of course. Well, I hope it drops for me one of these days because I would like to sort of, yeah, I would because I've got it really low, haven't
It's
I?
a good band. It's a
Well,
good album.
So
it's a great album. It's unbelievable. I love it.
good for you though. No, that's great. It is nice to hear. As you can see, we're going to have a full range of different number ones, folks, right across the spectrum here. So, Jeremy, what's your number one?
My number one is Starless and Bible Black. It's the only one that's left. The first down from 1974, 5 stars. Now, Paul, you put this down quite far. I was surprised at how far down you had Starless. Didn't you have it at number
Really?
6 or something? I
Yeah.
was surprised. To me, the thing I love about it is the warmth that I think that Red lacks. There's something a little bit warmer about the song like Trio. It's just it's actually I'm listening to that. I'm like, this is chamber music, and nobody can tell me differently. You know, it's just why is that not considered a piece of classical composition? I mean, because it was improvised. Okay, and I love the image of Bruford with his arms across his chest, just holding his drumsticks, just waiting for the right moment to come in and never hearing it. So he was credited with admirable restraint
Admirable
on this
restraint.
song.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And the great deceiver, once again, there's that point of view, that sardonic angle on society, on
Mm.
advertising, marketing. I love that kind of thing because while I'm a student of marketing and advertising, and I you know, read books about David Ogilvy and stuff like that, I'm also a skeptic of it because I know how it can be used to sell, to make people look like they're having the best time of their life in the laundry room. It's just so it's just I love that whole point of view. It's actually kind of a punk rock point of view when you think about it, and I think maybe that's why people weren't getting down on King Crimson so much when punk was hitting, because they already had a bit of that outsider point of view. So I really, really just love this album. And I didn't realize how much of it was improvised, and then they crafted it a little bit in the studio. It's pretty amazing. That just goes to show you what a monster band they were on the road at that time in that unit. One thing Red is missing is the violin. I love David Cross. He's a great
Yeah.
player.
Brilliant.
I think that's just a beautiful addition if you're gonna, rather than having two guitars as they did later on with Baloo, guitar and violin. That's a wonderful idea. So there's just nothing I can say about the album. I don't mind the mincer. I don't mind any of the so-called noodly parts of it. It's just a great, great album. And another reason it's number one for me is that I felt like it was a little bit of my discovery. Nobody was talking about it. I
No, that's a
found
good
it
way.
used
Yeah.
in the crates, and this is one that for me has stuck. When I put it on, I'm like, wow, this is a good album. This is just a great album. Yeah, like I said, nobody was talking about it. I bought it for, $2 or whatever. The cover is a little bit shredded, but it still sounds good. And so I think that's the other reason why it's my number one, because it's my King Crimson album. My
Yeah.
brother didn't have it. So
Do you
Well,
read Dylan?
great
Do you
stuff.
read any Dylan Thomas as a result?
Oh, well, I grew up in a house with a huge Dylan Thomas fan as my father. So yes.
Yeah.
well, my number one is my one five-star album. Uh,
What?
and it's the sister album of Remain in Light, and that's Discipline. I think it's absolutely magnificent album. I really, really love it. It maybe tells you more about my taste rather than sort of the band itself.
Hmm.
I think would be a fair assessment because I love the Adrian Belew album that came out later on. The one with the rhinoceros thing is brilliant. Um, but Discipline, it's just fantastic. Elephant Talks, just brilliant. Can I just say the musicianship on this album? This lineup is incredible for me. I mean, Belew, I think is one of the great guitar players, underrated. So yeah, I mean the musicianship's incredible. I mean Tony Levin was on the next day as well, I believe I remember rightly. I'll have to check my notes. Obviously Belu's played with Bowie. Obviously Fripp got those iconic parts as well. So it's just an incredible band, and obviously Bruford, who I cannot stop talking about. They're just it's remarkable. The rhythms on this album are amazing. And yes, it does sound like Talking Heads. Of course it does. Let's not hide away from it. But I'm pleased. It sounds amazing. Elephant Talk's fantastic, frame by frame, great guitar playing. Mate Kwasai has got a Police feel, I've written down. It definitely sounds like the Police, but obviously they were the in band at the time. They were the biggest band in the world at this point.
Mm.
In Discipline, I love the rhythm and the sort of complex guitar sounds on it. It's just fantastic. Hal Hun Ginjit could be off Stop Me, could certainly be off Remain in Light without a shadow of a doubt. It's definitely got that sort of groove to it. The Shelter in Sky, I love Bruford's rhythmic groove, which really makes that song for me.
Mm.
And again, Discipline, again. It's just the whole album's rhythm. That's why I think Rough is so incredible. The band themselves, the groove is just incredible. It's funky, it's fat in terms of the bass, it's got space. You've got the Chapman stick thing going on as well, which just gives that really odd sort of Peter Gabriel sound, along with Talking Heads, which fits in really perfectly. And musicians, it's such a fantastic album. Yes, it's so different to Red, which was his predecessor. They are literally almost a different band, aren't they? Really,
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd agree with
uh,
that.
but you've got two
Even
of
though
them.
Bruf,
That's it.
half the band is the same,
Yeah,
Bruford and
half the
Fripp.
band, and
They
it's
had gone on their two different journeys, right?
yes,
Because Fripp went into his whole
yeah,
Drive to 1981 phase with Exposure, which
yeah,
frankly is not a very good record, but also playing a lot with Bowie. And
yeah.
then you had Bruford, who he wanted to play more King Crimson music, so he founded UK with John Wetton, which
Yes, which
that's
was
a band I
massive.
really need to listen to.
Yeah,
Are they?
huge band.
So
And
it's just interesting.
yeah, so I mean, it's absolutely, I just find it incredible. I think it's an incredible album. I absolutely love it. Play it on a fairly regular basis. It's hard to put Remain the Light on and then not whack Discipline on. It's like, it goes so well. And Beat, I love Beat as well, I have to say. I don't know, it's got its critics, but I really, really like it. Bar a couple of those sort of weaker tracks on it. So yeah, that's
Hmm.
my number one. So folks, if you want to send in your lists, it will be interesting to see because, as you can see, we've gone in quite different sort of areas here, which is quite nice. So send in your lists from Jonesy, Jeremy, and myself. Till the next time, bye bye.